One of the sponsors has been with us from the beginning is our friends out in North Carolina, Highland Canine at Tactical Police Canine, letter K number 9, training.com. They are full service from top to bottom, left to right, north, south, east to west. They have everything, pointy ears, floppy ears, whatever you want. And they are a full service kennel doing seminars as well as handler schools for completed dogs and as well as green dogs. So be sure to hit them up, Highland Canine at tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com. The Fergusons are fantastic people. Jason's been on the podcast as well, so go look up his episode.
Our one of my favorite sponsors is Dogtra. The folks over at dogtra.com. They've been doing this for a long time, guys. Their e-collars, bark collars, everything they do, we love it. We have a great relationship with them. They give a discount code WDR10 for 10% off any single item over $200. I tell everybody I have a kennel full of Dogtra e-collars. Most importantly, I have a kennel full of Dogtra bark collars. The YS600 to me is the best piece of equipment in all of dogs. Check them out, dogtra.com. Check them out on Instagram at dogtraofficial.
We really like the guys at Ray Allen Manufacturing. They've been around for freaking ever. They were making working dog equipment before there were working dogs for working bison, apparently. So, and their product designer is one of our favorite people, Matt Wilson. We love Matt. So rayallen.com. And everyone thinks, it's only for police and military dogs. And that's not the case. If you have a working dog, whether it's police and military or search and rescue or even hunting, and even if you got pets, they have literally everything minus the dog and the patrol car that you would need to outfit a working team or a pet team for anything, whether it be scent work, whether it be or AKC or UKC scent work, all the way up to explosive and narcotics detection for military and police teams and everything in between. So be sure to hit them up at rayallen.com. Use the discount code Working Dog Radio spelled out for 10% off your order.
Absolutely, not even probably. Our first sponsor and longest sponsor is Arno over at ALM. Probably, to me anyways, one of the best guys in all canine. His website, almcanineequipment.com. You can get on there, give him a call, email him. He's the only guy you're going to talk to. almcanineequipment.com. He has easily the best tugs in the business. His bite suits are amazing. They last for a long time. Ted will tell you he's got the same jacket since Noah threw the ark out there. And his hidden sleeve, I still say, is the best in the business. Check him out. Use a discount code WD Radio, all spelled out, 10% off your first order. Check him out on Instagram, ALM Canine Equipment.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I am Ted Summers from Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's finally spring. Thank God. Eric Stambro from Canton, Ohio. Eric, what are you doing?
Handler school today was Wednesday, so we had the Police Canine Association guys out. We had a lot of guys, man. We had like 17 dudes there today. We were at the fun house because yesterday it was 70. Today it was like 50 and raining. Tomorrow it's going to snow. Fucking snow.
Fuck that.
So, yeah.
No.
But so we were at the fun. We did kind of a bite fest today. We did first thing was a bite through a tunnel and a bite in a dark room, and then they had to transition right to a detection hide. There was some single purpose detection dog. We had a good day, man. We did a bunch of stuff, vehicle extractions up on the roof of the car. So it was a good time, man.
Drive conversions, huh? How did the handlers handle that?
Actually, they did pretty good. I ran that part, the conversion part, and I just taught them capping, the ones who weren't familiar with it, and it worked pretty well. One of the guys in the handler school got tagged through the hand by his dog today. It was pretty sweet. Like, go put some rub some dirt on it, walk it off. Pretty boy. Let's go.
My intern Paul got fucking smoked last week by a dog, and it's like one of those things. Can't teach dogs to bite people and like shock them when they do. So he's here now. His ankle looks good though. Dog tagged him. He didn't die, which is good. We didn't need any stitches, so they didn't stitch it up, which is good. Probably might have used some, but I don't know. It looks fine. He's here right now. He's sitting in my living room. So
that's what super glue's for.
Exactly.
So dude, real quick, you said that they didn't die. Get this. So one of the dudes went to a call the other day. He's a canine guy. Went to the call. I don't even know what got him to this house, but he went to the call and there was a woman in there and she has a pit bull. And they got there. The dog had scalped her from her eyebrows back. No skin, no hair. Scalped her, crushed her throat, bit her like 40 times, severed all the major arteries in her legs. She was still alive when he got there. She said it was the dog. They're like, you think?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a fucking
She didn't
ghost.
make it. She didn't make it much longer. But dude,
God damn.
I saw a lot of stuff, man, in my 27 years in police work, and I never saw anything like that. And he said it was pretty. It was pretty
wow.
bad, so yes, somebody did die. Occasionally, it does happen, but
wow,
not from police dogs though. So
no, there's only been a couple cases of that, thankfully. So yeah, big news on my side. Torchlight is moving locations. We got a new facility, indoor, outdoor. I've got a big 8,500 square foot fenced in yard, and it's going to be freaking nice. So really close to where we had been. Got an awesome landlord who is all about it, and yeah, so we've got about 5,000 square feet of indoor space. Building a bunkhouse for our VA program. Indoor things, so I can do we can do seminars and stuff in there. Plus, I've got indoor kennels and training stuff. So yeah, we've been moving over there, which is a fucking pain in the ass, and moving dogs and still training. And I've got a wire-haired griffin or griff. What is it? What the fuck is that dog? Her name's Fancy. A short or wire-haired pointing griffin. Yeah. Whiting hair pointing griffin. They brought me this dog. I'm like, dude, this dog has a rad beard, and it's this little like gun dog looking thing, right? And she is badass and great, super soft, but and of course, I mean, she's a puppy, but super nice environmentally. And they're just like, oh, we want her to be they want to teach her to do blood tracking and stuff. I'm like, yeah, we can do that, but I mean, she's 4 months old, so we're gonna work on other shit first. And she's great. I took her to Home Depot today, and she's running around and off leash, and I already have her on an e-collar. We're doing the popo and back and forth and going to place and jumping on shit and coming to me and getting petted by people. And so she's a cool little dog. But I bring that up because she's a gun dog, and our guest today, for those that don't know me, I don't hunt. For those that do know me, no, I don't hunt. The only interaction I have with gun dogs is finding drugs and bombs. So labs, pointers, now this wire-haired griffin thing that we've got here, which is super cool. She chases tennis balls like a fucking Malinois. And I've got a couple of handlers that I sent a picture, and they're like, oh yeah, I have one that kills skunks all the time. I'm like, oh great. So it'll chase stuff and kill it. Perfect. Our handler, or I'm sorry, our guest tonight, is really well known in the hunting dog world, not so much in the police dog world. And I actually came across him when I was trying to figure out if it was a wise idea to use a force fetch on a herder. Eric and I aren't hunters, but I think there's a lot of skills that are cross applicable with our guests tonight, with a lot of the police dog trainers and the working dog trainers and the sport dog trainers on the non-hunting side. So with that, I'm super stoked to have Freddy King on. Freddy, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, guys. Man, I sat back and really enjoyed listening to y'all two talking. I mean, it's a completely different realm of training that I do, but I mean, it's just as thrilling, to hear about. And plus, I've seen tons of videos of the type of work that y'all put out, and I mean, that's top-notch dogs, ain't no doubt about it. But no, I'm super stoked to be here and talk about what I do and how it might be applicable to a lot of what y'all do.
Excellent. Yeah, that was kind of the impetus to have you guys on. And I'm sure Pat Nolan. Fucking everybody knows Pat. Everybody knows Pat. And we've had Pat on before, and it was some of the best episodes that we've done. And a lot of it is because gun dog guys are ninjas with e-collars. Now, like Eric and I are really good, and our buddies like Justin Rigney and a lot of the other guys in the police world are really good with e-collars. A lot of what we do, though, was pioneered by and either discovered or pioneered by the hunting dog guys. So this whole using the collar as a communication tool for dogs, and the police dog side, a lot of the way that it's used even now, I mean, it's 2021, we're still in the middle of COVID. And there are still dudes in the police dog world that are using an e-collar straight up just straight up escape training, aversion training, with only using it as a brake, or as Eric says, as a brake. They're not using it as a gas pedal or anything else. So, it's interesting when we talk about police dog trainers, and for some reason there's some myth that we're the pinnacle of dog training, and we're not. And so, I kind of want to start out a little bit, like, let's talk about your background and stuff, and then we're going to go into some of the e-collar conditioning stuff that you guys do.
Well, listen, I'm from Surfsea, Arkansas, or that's where I live right now, but been here for almost 45 years. That tells you how old I am. I'm 53 years old, but I've been in labs ever since I can remember, since I was 7, 8 years old. We always had retrievers, that sort of thing, but and we use them for hunting. They retrieve our ducks. So just kind of one thing, as you get older and stuff, and I started seeing these other dogs that, man, they were really great dogs. Back then we had dogs that you shot, they broke, they took off, they ran whatever hit and come back, and that was it. They spit the bird out there in front of you. And, back then that was a great dog. But now the dogs that we were seeing, or I was seeing when I was 20, 21 years old or so, man, them dogs, guys blowing his whistle and he's casting them all over the place. So, that kind of really, really piqued my interest to learn as much as I could about how they were getting that done. Because, to me, that was the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean? And it just kind of graduated from there. I was fortunate enough to have a job that gave me the opportunity to travel around. So I really started off as an editor and producer of several outdoor television shows, and I got to travel around and I'd meet all these different peoples, and I kind of pushed myself towards the genre of a lot of the working dogs. So, retrievers, pointers, flushing dogs, those sorts of things. And just through the years, starting way back in, late 90, early 90, pushing record on camera and following these guys around, I just started soaking up all the material that they were giving to me free. I was learning, I was getting a lot from them. I was a lot of stuff I'd shoot off site, and I would store it for my own use later, and those sorts of things. And I just take those tips and of course going to a bunch of seminars. But that kind of graduated me to running hunt tests. I saw ran into a fella at Max Prairie Wings, which is the local big duck store in Arkansas. And he said, man, you ought to come out and check out some of these hunt retriever clubs and our tests and stuff. And I went to a couple of those and just fell in love with it. So, of course, that meant I had to have a better dog. And with that, you know how it is. It's like any sport or any activity. If you get with the right crowd, you always train to that level. You train to the level. And it just so happened, that I landed with probably 2 or 3 of the top-notch guys that were passing grand dogs consistently and were kind of the cream of the crop. And from them, I learned a ton. And, and we're talking 30 years ago. So that's pretty much what sunk my teeth in it. And then the past 10 to 15 years, I was filming the Super Retriever series. I was also filming and editing a lot of other pros DVDs and webisodes and stuff like that. So I'm soaking in everything they're telling me, using it, adding it, subtracting it, making changes to what they do to fit my program and what I thought, made dogs better, quicker understanding, and get my training schematic to flow a lot smoother. The whole progression of going from a puppy all the way to a finished master derby qualified open all age dog. So, and it's been one hell of a road. You're making me think of a lot of good times from way back. You mentioned Pat Nolan. I've sat in a circle, filmed with those guys, and some of the greatest pros out there, from Mike Lardy to Danny Farmer to Chris Aiken to you name it.
That's crazy. Let me ask you this real quick before this is kind of not really a dog training question. It's more about the recording stuff where you started doing filming things and everything like that. What's the like a, I don't know, a secret or whatever, or film recording dogs and dog working? What is something that's different than any other type of genre that you know of?
Well, the Super Retriever series, all right? This is the top dogs in the nation. Shannon Nardi, and I'm not bragging on myself, Shannon Nardi, the owner of Dancing Dog Productions, one of the best producers that I know, best field producer that I know. She'd run 4 cameras. We'd all have our links going back into a main channel. Boom, she's popping us back and forth. Freddie, get ready for take 2, blah, 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 whatever, this and that. But what she did, I was the #1 camera on her. They put me on the podiums and stuff because I could read that dog. When the dog was cast from the line, I could see what the dog would, and it's nothing against the other camera guys there. But, most of them were either filming fishing shows or deer hunting shows or, National Hot Rod Association junk, that sort of stuff. And they're out there watching these dogs. I was like, okay, film that black or yellow dog, whatever, to stay on as good as you can. All right. So all I need to do is frame this shot. Is that right, Shannon? That's all I got. I got you. I can do that. Well, I was the guy that had to zoom in tight and follow that dog from nose to tail. And I had to be able to read that dog. So if you were asking, what was the main thing, was being able to read that dog from a camera perspective and know the second that either a whistle was going to come from the handler or that dog was going to follow a contour of a ditch just because of the way he may be fading with the wind or something, and be able to pull that shot off without zooming back. I could stay in there and fly with that dog, in other words. So that kind of got me a good spot with the Super Retrievers. And I learned a lot being in the backfield like that, watching those dogs and the way terrain and water and wind and just, the way marking concepts affected different dogs, and how you could start the same test in the morning, have the same level of dog in the afternoon run that test, and it'd be much harder just because of shade or wind direction changes. And I mean, and just start crushing them all of a sudden when everybody earlier was doing great, So I mean, and stuff like that I learned, which helped me to fine tune my actual training here years later.
So you've been around long enough that e-collars, like when you were starting, I mean, e-collars weren't like real prevalent.
They're probably gas powered back then.
Oh no, my first e-collar, I'm telling you right now, I could weld with that son of a gun. I'm telling you, I could weld with that son of a gun. I mean, I was like, holy smoke, and you get a new toy like that, and and here's this dumb shit of a kid that 23 years old, and he's got one of these first models. It's Tritronic, I can't remember what it was, that you pull the plugs out of to put in to change the setting, right? Yep. And of course we're like, man, I got to test it out,
Put the hot one in.
Take that thing and you put it on the back of your leg, and next thing you know, you got a muscle cramp going up the back of your neck. And I'm telling you, and it's a spasm that'll stick with you for 5 or 8 minutes, and believe me, you will be sore for 3 to 4 days after you do that, because their muscles contract so tight, like you're not used to using them, and you'll pull places in your body you never thought existed. But back then, that's what you had. That's what you had to work those dogs with, and we learned real quick you had to be very careful with them on soft dogs that needed a ton of repetition, because they would kill it dry. If you didn't know exactly what you were doing and when to do it, you could run a dog forever. And I mean, so luckily the collar folks, they recognized this and made quick changes, and we learned real quick that always keep that lowest setting in, or at least I did, keep that lowest. I think mine was a green you put in there, keep that in there. And most of the time I didn't even pull it out. I was still scared to use it because I seen some dogs doing some pretty funny things, and, not to get PETA on their asses or anything, but never put one of them son of a guns on a cat.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
That's fucking great. Love it.
Did I just say that?
Nope. We'll leave that in. So, you know, thankfully technology has changed. I mean, you know, we're way far into this now, you know, Dogtra, Garmin, Tritonics, or they have some fantastic technology and stuff. Now, how did that change? Because I know Eric can answer this, but how did it change the gun dog side when those changes came so that you had the radio stat dials and you were able to then dial the intensity for dogs? We'll talk about the conditioning side of it here in a second, because part of that conditioning is finding that working level. But if you've only got two fucking plugs, you've got green and black, or the one that we had in the office, I think I have green, red, and black. And black, when I use black on myself, I could taste pennies. So like it was rough. Thankfully, and I've nuked myself on high with the Dogtra and a Garmin and everything else, and it was still not near that. I thought somebody plugged me in. But so like, how did it change?
Well, I mean, well, being from seeing how collars can really, really affect dogs from the very beginning, it made it possible for me to step in there. I want to phrase this right. I seen things that the collar did at those levels that you kind of needed for some training with some dogs, your high drive dogs, those sorts of things. But man, being able to go down there to where you could just barely tickle a dog gave you the ability to work some super soft dogs and get them to levels that these high drive monster dogs were getting to. So what it done, in my opinion, was it saved a lot of dogs' careers or gave them capability of making great hunting buddies.
Excellent. So, you know, it's kind of an open secret, or maybe it's not. I mean, it is to me that gun dog trainers in the United States, especially, are probably the best guys with e-collars, hands down, without a doubt. You know, and a lot of it is because of the training you're doing and how you're doing it and everything else. But on our side, the police dog stuff, when we go through certifications, the dogs are allowed to wear the collar, but you can't have the remote in your hand. And then if you're on the sports side, you're definitely not allowed to wear anything, no equipment. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about how you guys do the conditioning phase of the collar stuff. And then we can have a little bit of discussion about that.
Well, I mean, do you want to know how I started as far as getting ready to condition a dog? Well,
yeah,
I mean,
100%.
It's pretty simple. You know, I mean, the first thing I do is when I won't ever condition a pup till I see a couple of things. I want the retrieving desire to be better than sufficient. So we're looking at a dog with a real strong strong retrieving desire, and I want him to have a ton of self-confidence. Self-confidence that I can see that when I praise this dog, that his attitude changes immediately. He's heightened. He's paying attention to me. Once I see these in at least a 6 months old dog, then I'll progress. If some dogs I might need to work with till they're 9 or 10 months or a year old before I see that retrieving desire and that self-confidence to those levels. Now, what I will do is I just basically go through my obedience. We're on lead. We're using a healing stick, that sort of thing. And once I've taught a dog the simple obedience, then we'll graduate to a choke collar, and I can just get a little bit more assertive with that. And then we graduate quickly to a prong collar. Now, with a prong collar, that's when I start letting the dog make his own corrections. We're on lead. He's walking. He pulls against it. Oh, man, that kind of felt weird around my neck. I don't like that. He lags behind a little bit, and I'm still walking. You know, it tugs him the other way, pinches him forward. So the dog is making its own corrections with that pinch, the prong collar. And I'll do the same thing with the heel. Just kind of guide them to where they need to be. And I'll do the sit by lifting up and straight up. And 90% of times when you do that, a dog will drop its rear end. And then you step away from them here, just a light little snap to you. So right there, what we've done is we've acclimated that dog to some kind of annoyance going around its neck, happening around its neck, that tension. So that makes the switch over to the e-collar, the introduction of it, so much simpler and so much easier. Now, what I do different than most people, most trainers do this: walk and sit, and then take a step, sit, and they give light pressure each time, that sort of thing, as far as when they're actually conditioning. I do mine different. I teach a dog place, and I teach a dog here. Now they know other commands: sit and heel and place and all that. I've taught them all those others, but I only do it from place to here. So I'm forcing the dog to get away from me, but I've already taught them this. They're doing it on their own. I've used the pinch collar. When I said place, I just give them a light snap forward. They go there. When they jump up on the place stand, I give them just a light pop toward me here. And that's all done with the prong collar. So the introduction with the e-collar is the same thing. And I'm doing the prong and the e-collar at the same identical time. Then I lessen the prong collar. Then eventually we can come off the lead. But most time I'll still keep a pup on lead unless I see a pup that's really getting it and coming back and forth. So I'm teaching that dog to get away from me and to come back, recall on those two commands. So here, place, or those I'm forcing away and I'm forcing back to me. Once a dog understands that, because those are my two main tools that I'm going to use as a retriever trainer throughout the life of the dog, more so than using pressure to sit, which will come eventually. But that's quite simply how I collar condition the dog, and I use light pressure, and I slowly graduate that as the dog understands, and I see that he clearly understands. I'll use just a little bit more pressure till I see that I'm getting to the level that dog's starting maybe get a little bit buggy. Then I stop and drop it back down and just start working from that moment on that level. That's that dog's level. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
100%. Oh yeah. Eric and I are talking back and forth in text right now, and like that's exactly how we.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, so I'm going to go back a little bit. You said something that of all the people that we've had on here, nobody has ever said, and that you mentioned the healing stick. I don't use a healing stick. I've seen it done a lot, and it looks like it is amazing. You want to describe that and how that works in your program exactly? Because I guarantee you there's a lot of people listening right now are like, what the hell is he talking about, healing stick?
Well, a healing stick is quite simply a stick, let's say in the form, looks like a golf club, got the end like a golf club, except for on the other end. Mine is made out of flex pipe. It's a 1/2-inch flex pipe. It's pretty rigid, but it waddles like a feather when you wave it. You know what I mean? So it's nothing that you can hit hard with. It's not stiff. And all I do is I use it 99% of the time. It's used to get a dog in healing position. And when I'm lifting the dog's head up, I will reach underneath his neck and around the front, and right at the dog's ankle, I'll just tap it. I'll tap, and you know what that feels like to yourself. I mean, you'll get your attention real quick anytime something hits you on the ankle that's somewhat hard. And I'll work a dog into position, and it doesn't take them long to figure out when you say heel to really swing that rear end around, and then I'll take a step to the right, and I'll do a here real quick, and I'll give a light tug with the pinch collar to me to make sure that head hits me on the side of the knee. Then I'll immediately heel, come back around, and I'll work that until I can make circles in heels and then circles in heres. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So there's definitely a difference.
And I'm telling you that healing sticks, a lot of people reach over the top of their dog and they try to do it, and that's the wrong thing you can do. You want to lift their heads up and come up underneath the dog. You're not going to bend all the way over, but you're going to keep the dog from cowering down by getting the healing stick underneath the chin. Is that making sense? Mm-hmm. And then when you start tapping that rear end or that ankle bone on them, they're gonna start hopping around. And trust me, about 3 sessions of that, you got a dog that will come to heel quick.
Yeah.
Especially when they see that healing stick drop. And then I'll use it for if I'm walking and a dog is real bad to want to get in front of me, I'll just kind of just wave it in front of my knee. Just kind of just wave it back and forth in front of my knee, and then let them correct it by walking into it, hitting it on their end of their nose or snout. And it's nothing hard whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, of course not. And I've seen videos of it, and the results are extraordinary. So let me ask you one more thing about something you said. So when I'm training police dogs and pet dogs, I usually start, excuse me, with the collar conditioning. Everything's the same. I always start with the here first, and then do the go away to place after they're kind of understanding it. Most gun dogs I've ever talked to or listened to say the opposite. Is there an advantage to teaching to go to place before the here?
Well, to kind of get real deep in advanced training, we're going to use us pro trainers. We're going to use that e-collar more to push your dog back, to keep pushing them. We're running 300, 400, 500 yards marks and blinds, and we want them to understand why that nick came from getting out of the water a little bit too early, and then we put them back in the water. But we also want them to mainly understand that means that nick still means you got to keep driving, you got to keep going. So I always start with, and it's kind of dual. I'm doing them almost at the exact same time, but I will start that force to place first, and then with my e-collar, and then about 2 sessions in it, then I start with the here coming back to me. But the pinch collar is always coming into play those first few sessions, no matter what, probably about the first 5 to 7 sessions. But to get back to your original question, it's because we're wanting to force that dog later on longer marks to keep digging across that water. I know you just swam 300, but you're fixing to hit land, and you got to go 200 more yards. And when they come out of that water and we holler back and we gave them a light nick, they're going to dig gears and they're going to keep driving.
Do you find it, and it's probably not as much for you guys the way you train versus the way we train. I find it a real fine line of if you're trying to get them to go out and continue to do things, fine line on the stem level that makes them, fuck it, I'm coming back. Is that a problem?
Yeah. Now that you're 100% right there. And what you got to be careful with is using too much pressure out in the field. There's a fine line when you're out there and you're using a little bit too much pressure. When I'm just screw it here. No matter what, when they get up there on top of you, you've got to let the pressure off. Well, they learned right then, boom. When the heat comes and down on me, if I get right here, it stops. So you've got to be careful about that when you. That's why if a dog's, well, I call it breaking. If a dog holy smokes, what's the terminology? Bolting. And if a dog is either dog can bolt away from you, a dog can bolt toward you. And the main thing you want to do is just kind of let off that pressure right then, start moving back away from the dog, and try to get that dog to stop, and then give your cast back, put them back in the working area. And then once they start digging that, now they may avoid that area where things got hot and not want to go back to it. But what you need to do is either walk past and simplify by throwing a dummy, a bumper, or whatever it is to get them back in that area, in that session as quick as possible, and then carry it start it somewhere else, and make that experience positive again for them. But you're 100% right. If too much pressure on the outside will push a dog inside back to you, and if you're not careful, that's why. And I hate saying this, my big dogs that are going to be campaigned to grand levels or going to go to other trainers and run some big field trials, they're going to have some what I call aggravated force to pile, aggravated forced backs, and we're going to use a lot of pressure at my side so that they know to drive, and I'm holding them back while I'm giving them pressure, and then all of a sudden I'm letting them go. So they're understanding, I drive that home that it's going to get hot, hot, hot right here if you don't get going. I hate using that terminology, but in essence, that's what's going on. Did that make sense at all?
100%. I was about to say there's two behaviors in police dogs that I will absolutely plug. I call it plugging them in like a Christmas tree. Like I will add some fucking heat for down in motion. Like if they're way the fuck out away from me and I say down, you hit the fucking deck. I don't care where you're at. And recall. When I call you back, I don't care if you have to come through fucking fire and broken glass, you get your ass back to me. And we do that for hunting dogs. It's not necessarily a safety issue for us, for police dog handlers.
Oh,
it's
most
a safety.
definitely.
Like if I don't want him chasing a crackhead in traffic
No.
and I don't want a crackhead dragging him into the water. So and then we kind of talk about outing, which is a separate deal altogether. But those are two where I will teach them ahead of time. Like I'll teach them how to do all that stuff first. I do all the motivation to go ahead. I do the recalls, I do the downs, I do all the stuff at distance. And then when we add drive to it, it gets funky. And I will teach them how to use the collar first. And those are the behaviors that we teach kind of like after the fact with the e-collars. Like, listen, dude, like, I understand I've asked you to do this 100 times, but the 101st time you still have to fucking do it. And I will, and they know, like, if I say here or plots or down or laney or whatever the hell their command is, they fucking hit the deck. And I've had multiple handlers come through my schools and I'm like, when you tell him to down, like he's going to down, like quick, like real quick. So if you're going to reward the down, like you got to be on top of it because he's going to hit the deck. And they're like, why? I'm like, well, we'll talk about that in another portion of the handler school. But right now, just when you say down, he's going to hit the fucking deck because if he doesn't, he thinks he's going to get hit by the hand of God. So no, I completely understand that without a doubt. So.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some marking behavior and the way that they do it in that gun dog retriever world. So stick around. Don't fast forward through commercials. We'll be right back. So sorry to interrupt the great conversation we are having, but we have amazing sponsors that we need to bring to you. One of our favorites, one of our oldest, is Southern Coast Canine. The folks down there, the Heisers, they are great folks down there in New Smyrna, Florida, right? They got everything you need to do down there, guys. Full service kennel, southerncoastcanine.com. Give them a call, 877-903-DOGS. The Southern Coast Canine folks have killer dogs, guys. Everyone we've seen have been badass. Check them out on Instagram at Southern Coast Canine.
Everybody knows that training is super important. One of the best training conferences in the country is HITS. It's by canine handlers for canine handlers. HITS Canine, letter K, number 9.net. The largest vendor show in the country, the largest giveaway for handlers in the country, and some of the most skilled instructors in the country, plus Eric and I. We're going to be there July 6th through the 9th in Scottsdale, Arizona, bringing the HRD Roadshow to everyone there, doing the presentation about scenario-based training. And then they've got everybody there from the industry to do fantastic presentations. Also, classifies and certify for your training hours when you come back to your department. So it's going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona, July 6th to the 9th. Be sure to hit up Jeff Barrett, 863-529-5113, or hits K9, letter K number 9.net.
The other big thing that guys mess around with and don't get right is nutrition for their dogs. Our good friends down at Kinetic Dog Food, they got it right. Especially if you own a kennel. Like there's all kinds of problems that go along with owning a kennel with a lot of dogs, kennel stress and things. These guys are great. They service some of the largest kennels in the country. KineticDogFood.com. Their stuff is so good. Give them a call, 513-615-6904. Kinetic Dog Food on Instagram. Wonderful people, wonderful food. Check them out, KineticDogFood.com.
Next up, we have a sponsor that's moved us for quite a while, Quick Derm by Vet Care. This stuff is magic. For whatever reason, working dogs have this uncanny ability to hurt themselves in fantastic and magical ways. Don't let small problems be big ones. Happy tail, torn up paws, one of our good buddies and also one of our interviews, Jake Hutchinson, had his dog got kicked in the face by a horse. The stitches were healed up very quickly with vet care. I use it on my tattoos. Alicia just got a new one and she's using it as well. Stuff is magic. So hit them up at vetcare.us. Use the discount code 10WDR for 10% off your first order. Awesome stuff.
Our brand new sponsor, guys, and he's a good dude, man. He really is a good dude, good trainer. He's been on the podcast, friend of ours. He's worked with us at HRD, great decoy. Jim O'Brien down at NC K9 in North Carolina. Obviously, NC stands for North Carolina. NC K9, letter K number 9. Great stuff, guys. Their police dogs are good. Floppy ear, pointy ear, dual purpose, single purpose, handler schools, better weather than we have in Ohio. Give him a call, 919-438-0141. Check out his website, nck9.us. Hit him up on Instagram at nck9llc. For them, guys, training is not a job. It is their life. All right, everybody, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite with Freddy King from the Retriever Training, right? It's called theretrievertraining.com is the website.
TheRetrieverTrainer.com.
Trainer. Okay, trainer, not training.
TheRetrieverTrainer.com.
TRT, not testosterone replacement therapy.
That's exactly right.
Right, exactly.
Although
we are in our 50s. We are in our 50s. We might, So anyways,
I probably benefit from a little bit.
Right. We're having an amazing conversation with Freddie about how the e-collars used, and amazingly we found out a lot of the conditioning of the collar and leash comes without an e-collar, comes through different various things into the prong and then layered into the e-collar. So you mentioned mark. We have a lot of trainers on that talk about mark and marking. I do it. Ted does it. A lot of people. I want to get into that with you. If it's the same that we're talking about with the type of dogs you're training, this type of style, or if it means something completely different.
Well, in the world of retrievers, you have what is called a mark and what is called a blind. Okay. A mark is when a dog sees a bird is shot and it falls. A dog must mark that spot and run directly to that spot, and then have a short hunt, as short as hunt as possible, pick that bird up and come back. Now, some dogs have a lot better marking ability right out the gate than others, but no matter a dog's marking ability, natural marking ability, a lot of them, most of them can be enhanced and taught to be better markers. So, a mark is a bird that a dog sees fall and he runs to that spot, picks it up. He's marked that area. Okay. Then you have what is called a blind. A blind is, let's say the dog's in the truck, you walk out 200, 300, 400 yards, you place a bird somewhere and you use, and you become a team. On a mark, it's 100% the dog. The dog watches, you release the dog or cast the dog by saying their name. Say Fido, and it's all him, 100% the dog. They're judged on their marking ability, how they can mark, their memory on those marks, and how they deal with the concepts. Now, a blind, your dog's in the truck, the judges have put a bird out there 200, 300, 400, 500 yards. You walk to the line, the dog has no idea where the bird is. And you have to you and your dog become a team. You have to line your dog up, say dead bird. That's my cue. I use 99.9% of the retriever handlers out there use the same dead bird. I then cue my dog with subtle taps to my knee, snaps to my fingers behind them to adjust their head, 2 to 3 to 4 degrees, look at the exact spot. And then when I say good, they'll lock on. And then I say back, and they pick the furthest spot that they can see. You train a dog over time, they learn no matter what. I'm looking at that scaly oak tree out there at 500 yards. I'm going to run as hard as I can straight at that. And they'll take off and run just a perfect. And, of course, this is a finished master level dog, and he's fighting all these contours to hold his line, fading. The wind's hitting him from the side. A lot of dogs want to drift with the wind to catch scent. and they're running through old falls and those sorts of things. So you're teaching the dog to fight all those factors, run straight, tweet, you hit your whistle, you give directional casts to put the animal, the dog, on that bird with as few of a cast, and the dog must take those casts. And the further it gets out, harder and the wind's blowing, and dogs a lot of times slip whistles. That's when they don't stop. They sit immediately when they hear that whistle, and then a lot of times they don't see the cast good. So you get a lot of variables that the judge interprets, why it did this or that, or it may be grading you against another dog, and then your dog failed or my dog failed. So, but marking concepts, and as they step up in abilities, you have started, season, senior, finished, master, grand, all the way up to national opens. And these marks can range anywhere from 100 yards to 500 yards. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of people, they'll go up to a pretty solid grand test or a pretty solid master test, and these 3 marks will come out. You'll want to come out, pow, and dog will watch it. About a second and a half later, pow, another one, and you'll move your dog, just with those subtle little deals. Watch that. They'll mark it, and about a second and a half later, pow, that one right there. 9 times out of 10, people watching in a gallery or the person running can't walk straight to those marks.
Right. Yeah.
But here are these dogs that here are these dogs that they'll pick up that gold bird, they'll come back, they'll pick up this short one without driving over the top of it, and they'll come back and wheel around and just dead lock in on that mark out there. But all of that's taught through repetitions. You only have a certain amount of concepts as far as mom and pop, flower pots, hip pockets, outward, inward versions and marking. There's only a certain amount of concepts, but you teach all of those in singles, and then you graduate to multiples. And it takes a dog that's competing at the national level has to see all kinds of new water, new topography, and see those different marking concepts, because they might be wide, they might be tight, and you've got to, as well as y'all know, dogs are like computers. The better processor they have and ability to store information, you just keep giving them all these different looks and teaching those lines, and they just store it. And the ones with the best processors and the highest motors are usually ones taking home the blue ribbons.
Well, yeah, that's definitely marking is different. It's different than that we do. So I have a question about it, and then Ted's got a really good question for you. But is there a I don't know how to phrase it, like a timeline with the mark where you're like, this dog after 30 seconds is lost it, or do you build up to it? Do you find that they have like a time frame that they work best in? Well, once they mark it the first time, are that they'll stay on the mark? This dog will stay on this mark for a whole 2 minutes. You could hold him before you send him, and he's going to make it. But after 2.5 minutes, it's a little bit harder.
Well, memory erodes with time. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, if a dog sees a mark, comes out, and he's looking at that mark, as long as I don't move, most of my master level dogs are just going to sit there and stare at that spot, and then generally cast and go straight to that spot. They've been trained to not vary from that line that they're looking at. As long as I say good and I say their name, they're going to drive as straight as they can. And they've seen so many marks from hides and bird boys and wingers that they've also learned that once I get into this area so far off to this side of where that guy is right over there, I need to establish a hunt, because they can't throw it any further. You know what I'm saying? So they kind of learn that the general area that bird should. So that helps them too. And the ability to hold that perfect line, not fall behind the gunner and hunt the wrong side, or see another gunner station and take off toward it. Those things, we started around 4 to 5 months old teaching them, and we're just constantly teaching them until they're 5, 7, 8 year old master level dogs. And it's a process and the top ones in the nation are something to watch. I mean, they some of the stuff that they can do, just like y'all's dogs, though. I mean, just exactly like y'all's dogs. It's there's a major difference between one that's had training for 6-7 years and its abilities versus a 2-year-old fanatic.
Oh yeah. So one thing that's interesting during and because it kind of feeds into this entire conversation too, during tracking functions for us, area searches or building searches, I tell handlers a lot. We talk about it at HRDs a lot too. Eric and I talk about it. Dogs are the Malinois, German Shepherds, Dutch Shepherds, mainly the patrol dogs. They're prey animals first and foremost. Because of that, they hunt with their eyes, their ears, and their nose. So you kind of, you made a comment about a catalog, and I say the library or the Rolodex, right? Like, there's a reason every narcotics dog in the country checks every door handle on every search, because they've been successful there all the fucking time. And that's why they search. I don't ever teach them door handles here because I don't need to, because they're going to get
it's going to happen.
They're going to get 10 runs in the field, and they're going to be like, oh shit, they're going to get 9 out of 10 fines on door handles. Like, I never have to do it. Every experienced narcotics dog searches door handles, and every narcotics handler listening to this is like, oh yeah, my dog searches door handles all the time. That's why, because they find odor there all the time. The one thing that's interesting for the patrol dogs, which is where this kind of comes in, is during area searches that are off leash and during building searches that are off leash or even directed. I've always kind of figured that dogs don't have very good depth perception. They can see something, and while they're really good at seeing movement, once they hit a lot of odor, they kind of pop their head up and look around, and they'll do what we call a proximity alert, or they'll give us some kind of indication that they're close to odor. Like, I'm so close to this fool that I should be able to see him, or I should be able to hear him. One of the two. So when you're talking about sending a dog on a send at 500 yards and they're looking at a fucking tree it's got to be like this big. Like, do they not have, what's the deal? We've tried to have somebody on the podcast that is a canine sight expert that talks about this, because when I expose dogs to height, whether it be 200 feet or 10 or 2, the first time they experience stairs, they're like, holy shit, I'm going to step off the edge of the earth. What's the deal with the depth perception? Do they learn that, or have you had any experience with how dogs deal with the depth perception versus distance? Like, if some of these marks you're talking about are at different distances, say one's at 250 yards and one's at 350 yards, and then one's at, I don't know, past the curve of the earth, how do they determine which one is closer?
Well, they learn it. They learn by the looks of the bird, the sound of the shots, the lay of the land. They learn to look. I do a lot of training where dogs can't see the ground from, let's say, 10 feet in front of them for the first 200 yards. They can't see the ground. In other words, the grass is tall. It may be a big valley, and there might be that angle up the hill throw. All right. When they take off, they know that, my gosh, you're fixing to have to dig quite a ways to get to that bird. And it's amazing to watch them running, and they start checking down within 10 to 15 yards of that bird. They start slowing down, getting, and their head starts looking back and forth, and their nose is they're starting to kind of tilt with the wind to try to catch wind, and they know. So they're definitely, that's why it's so crucial to us in the retriever world. We want our pups, when we look at breedings, we want their eyes to be excellent, their hips to be excellent, all their joints to be excellent, and for them to have 100 all across their health certification. So, and we're breeding our dogs only 2 though. So we're looking for them to have the best eyesight possible, because they do have, in my opinion, an extremely acute ability to determine distance. We'll do a lot of inline throws. In other words, we'll throw one that's 350 yards, boom, out there. Then we'll have one that's thrown 100 yards right here. A dog will see both those marks. He'll pick up that short one, come back. Where's your bird? I'll ask all my dogs, where's your bird? Boom. They'll lock right back in on that spot. I'll cast them. They'll run right through that short area where all that scent and stuff, and 50 ducks have already been killed. Keep on driving, go through all that scent, go all the way up to the top of the hill, and establish a hunt right on that spot. And they can't do that unless they have a pretty solid sense of depth and ability to spot mark. Look at that spot from where they're at right here. Picture it out there and run to that spot. That's what we call spot marking.
Interesting. We have a similar concept that we just say shitheads commit crimes together. And well, they do. And so we do a building search with an unknown number of people in it. And you bite one person and you're like, okay, buddy.
Hey, that ought to be on the shirt.
You're like, okay, you got to go back to work. And they're like, no, I need to bite this guy again. No, you can't do that. You got to go back to work. So, and that's Eric, we talked about at the beginning of the episode, drive conversion, where you have a dog that's in a super high state of drive, which, you know, they're selectively bred and raised for 150 years to bite people. And that's the highest expression of their drive. And they do. And they're like, okay, now you got to go back to a mid-level drive exercise, which is going to find another person to bite. Causes a lot of problems for a lot of patrol handlers, because they're like, what do you mean I got to find somebody else? And not bite backup guys. Don't do that either. That's bad. So yeah. What were you going to say?
Yeah, you know, this is why I love the show is, so I've been telling people for years, and Ted kind of hinted to it, that I tell people, listen to, you know, a dog's nose and their hearing is so good, but I don't see their eyesight is good because the, like in a lighted area into a dark area, they look like it's almost a wall. Or if you are outside, we'll send a decoy running down the way and then have him dip in, and the dogs never get it right. They always dip in too early, and like their depth perception. And I'm really enjoying hearing you say that, that you can kind of teach through that and overcome it. So real quick, and then we got to take another commercial break and move on to some other stuff. When we do tests for dogs, as far as medical goes, it's teeth, hips, and joints, you know, all kinds of joints. I've never had an agency or any other vendor checked eyes ever. What are they looking for in that?
Well, they're checking to make sure that they're clear. They're checking to make sure that they have no astigmatisms or anything like that, and they can tell, you know, if a dog's eyes, how clear. If dogs' eyes are tested every single year, you're supposed to have, and then if you know that a dog at age 6, which is roughly around a 42-year-old guy, he comes back with an excellent eye test, then that gummit, most of his prodigy is going to have decent eyes. And a dog that's breeding that's 8-9 years old and comes back as excellent, that's going to tell you that line of dogs is going to have better chance of having great eyesight. And it's common, trust me. I mean, it's a big deal, that, and having EIC tests, which is kind of a new thing. And, you know, that's where these dogs that become under labor, a lot of they lose all control of their nervous system, really. So they can't really use their rear legs and that sort of thing.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. When we come back, we got a bunch of stuff, some things we were talking about before we started recording. And back with Freddy King here in a minute. Stand by. Working Dog Radio, we love our sponsors. This episode is sponsored in part by Ray Allen at rayallen.com. Everything for dogs. Check out their 10% discount code using Working Dog Radio, all caps, rayallen.com for everything dogs.
Be sure to check out Dogtra also. Eric and I love Dogtra. It's what we both use at the kennel each day. I like the 1900S. Be sure to check them out at dogtra.com. Use the discount code WDR10 for 10% off any single item over $200.
Are you going to the Hits Canine this year, guys? The biggest and best conference in the United States, July 6th to the 9th, Scottsdale, Arizona. HitsCanine.net. Give Jeff Baird a call, 863-529-5113.
Making sure you have the right dog food is a super important part of running a working dog, whether it be police dogs, military dogs, or hunting dogs, or search and rescue. We like Kinetic Dog Food. The guys at Kinetic can be found at kineticdogfood.com. Area code 513-615-6904. Hit them up.
We got a brand new sponsor, our good buddy Jim O'Brien down at NCK9 in North Carolina. Full service kennel, police dogs, single purpose, dual purpose, handler schools, trainer schools. Check them out, nck9.us. All right, we are back, Working Dog Radio. I hope you did not fast forward through those commercials. We have new sponsors in there. We have a lot of discount codes, a lot of things going on. Be sure to go back. If not, look at the bottom of the show notes. You'll see everything about the sponsors and everything about Freddy's business ventures. So real quick, I want to back up to the e-collar stuff. And when we were talking about marking, when we're teaching things with the typical way that we talk about marking is using a click or a word to mark a certain behavior as being correct so that we can teach them newer things as we're going. Do you guys, when you're instituting the e-collars, is the removal of the pressure, the mark, so to speak, that you're teaching the dog that was the right thing?
No, when we're teaching dogs mark, as far as marking ability.
No, just like on the when you're going to teach them a recall back to you, right? We will apply pressure, and as the dog is turning to come towards us, we will release the pressure and then say yes, or maybe click a thing or okay, or whatever the word is. That word is what we use as the word mark. Is there a similar thing that you do, or is it just the removal of the pressure is what's telling them what they did was correct?
Well, if I'm understanding you right, anytime I'm recalling a dog, I'm either hollering here, or I'm tweet 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 with my whistle, and when I'm doing that in conditioning, I will give pressure, instant pressure to that command, and then I immediately let off as soon as the dog turns toward me. The only time I use constant pressure is when I'm forcing to place. Right. That's the only time I'm ever using constant pressure.
So when you remove the pressure, when they start turning towards you, do you say anything at that point, or do you just that removal was letting them know that was the right move?
Right. And the next trick is if they've turned toward me and they're coming running at me, and then all of a sudden veer to something else, the pressure will come, and I'll give them 2 seconds of continuous pressure then to make up their own mind what they're fixing to do. Are they going to come straight to me? And if they don't within that second and a half, 2 seconds, then I give them a here, tweet, tweet, and I try to get them to figure out what that means. That way, let's say, and you got to be careful. And I've got to be careful as a pro trainer for the way I'm training dogs, because I'm using a collar for a lot of different things, that if in the future I'm running a blind dead bird back whom they don't know where they're going, and I give them a left back, and let's say he turns to the right and kind of scouts. Well, he refused to cast. Tweet, nick. All right. And if I'm not careful, that pressure is going to make that dog, instead of dropping on his butt and looking at me, he's going to want to progress to me. So I have to be real careful about that, and I only do that close quarters, and not whenever I'm running blinds or when I'm running actual left back, but he angled hard. Tweet. I give the cast again, the opposite way. Let's say give the cast again, but he scouts. All right. I'm going to get that first one I gave him free. That second one, I'm going to tweet. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to tweet, tweet, tweet. He's going to come to me 2 steps. I'm going to hit the tweet. He's going to stop. And I'm going to give him about a second and a half nick. Constant pressure. I'm going to let him sit there and what we call sweat. Let him think about it. And then I'm going to give him the cast. 9 times out of 10, the dog will give you a cast. But here's, as the dog gets smarter, they say, what? You know what? I got that freebie this first time. and they'll take it the second time. They learn that. So then those dogs there, you got to start burning them on the first time. And then they say, no matter, you know what I mean? So, and a lot of dogs are that smart. It's amazing. 50% of them figure that out, that, hey, I get a freebie the first time.
Yeah. And in PSA, and I'm a senior level decoy in the Protection Sports Association. And, we get 3 chances to out a dog. And in those 3 chances, the steward will say, hey, out your dog. Dog name out. He doesn't out. They say it again. Dog name out. Doesn't out. And I'll be damned if on the 3rd try at 4.5 seconds in, they say dog name out, and it's 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, and the dog comes off, and you're like, and it's only worth 5 points, but still, I mean, it's like a 2-point out or something. You're like, are you fucking serious? And people are like, oh, dogs can't count. I'm like, oh, you can't? Like, how many dogs in PSA don't out of the first try? I fucking shitload of them. Same thing with IPO and some other stuff too. But 110%. I know exactly what you're talking about. Fucking patrol dogs do too.
They learn that. They learn that. I mean, they do. They're a lot smarter than you give them credit for, and they're definitely problem solvers. Let's say it.
So in that thread or in that vein, talking about problem solving, one of the things that I've seen you talk about before is some of the dogs that tend to get either collar wise to pinch and or e-collars, and how you have kind of mitigated that in the past without adding extra heat. So you just don't yell louder.
Well, I try. Here's my thing. I try to keep all my training. If I do live feeds literally every single day of these setups, I'm probably the only pro trainer in the United States that does a live feed with his dogs every single morning. Owners can watch their dogs, at some point during the week, doing setups, getting trained, that sort of thing. And I've learned through that, because I've been doing it the last 4 or 5 years, that I keep my voice very monotone. So these dogs have learned to listen to me better because I don't heighten my voice like a lot of people do. And that made me think of something 3 or 4 years ago. Bill Autry, one of the very best dog trainers that I know of, I got a lot of respect for him, has had throat surgery and has a oh crap, what do you call it?
Stillness, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he's got to talk with a voice box and all that kind of mess. But he always talks like this,
right?
And his dogs listen. He can't ever. So I mean, there's some truth to that. You know what I mean? So, right. And he told me one time, he said, your dogs will listen to you better if you talk quieter too. Yes,
yeah, it's different when you don't have an option. Like,
yeah,
it's not like I can fucking talk
true,
louder.
But
right?
I've learned to kind of monotone myself, and then it's through sometimes I'll raise my voice, but I do it on purpose, and then I watch them, and especially your body language to a dog. You want to, especially softer dogs, your hard driving monster dogs. A lot of times body language don't mean nothing to them, but your mid to softer level, you can change your body language, your stature, your look, your stance, and you can change that dog's attitude even in the ring.
So I had a question. This is about the competition in the business that you're in the world that you're in. How many guys in there at the pro trainer level, when they come to the competition, you're there, you're like, ah, shit, I got my work cut out for me today. Like, this guy is how many guys say that about you, you think?
Well, I mean, everybody, here's the thing. Everybody's on such the same level. But don't get me wrong. There's all the pros. There's some pros like Chris Aiken that has passed, golly, 50 something grand dogs, and that's the ones that's got grand titles. He's probably passed well over 100 grands, and he's still number 2. But you have guys like Chris that run one type of genre of hunt tests and stuff, and then you have another like Mike Lardy, who is the premier top of the nation, whatever. But you put I thought I might have lost, but you put Lardy and Aiken and Farmer and Dobbs and all these, and I'm saying everybody, the big names out there, It's any dog's day out there. That's just it. What separates them is how many bullets you have on the truck. So, you know what I mean? So if you're a pro that's got 17 dogs that are badass dogs for clients, and you're a trainer with 2 mean mother badass dogs, and you go out there, they're already limited. You know, I mean, these 2 dogs, and I've seen it 100 times behind the line watching, and a dog's got it won, and I mean, just done superb work. And this other dog that's coming in number 2 had some stumbles here and there, and then I mean, all the dog had to do was finish the blind or finish the mark and just end up in right field, and the dog handler had to call him in. You know, and stuff like that. It's heartbreaking, but it's the dog that finally separates everybody instead of the actual hunters. And the more bullets you got on your truck, the better off your chances are to win. That I will guarantee you.
I've said this, I don't know how many times, and I say it all the time. And because people are always like, why do you use an e-collar for mandatory downs and mandatory recalls? And I say it and people laugh, but no matter how well trained they are, they're still a dog. They still eat cat shit and lick their own ass, no matter how, I don't care how trained they are, and they inevitably will do the most stupid shit at the
I'm gonna tell you this right now: don't ever brag on a dog. Make a liar out of you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, one of our seminars that we do, there's a thing that we do a very innocuous on dogs, but I'm telling you, don't bet on your dog.
Bet against everybody else, but don't
do not bet on your dog.
I guarantee you.
Yeah. I just have a couple more things, and then we'll get into the website here real quick. Is there any shit talking in the retriever game? And B, how many of those guys, or probably maybe all of them, if someone showed up, an owner of a dog or handler that was trained by some of those top guys, could you tell, if you didn't know where the dog came from, who trained that dog based on how the dog worked?
There's several dogs that I could tell who the trainers were if I watched them run. There definitely are. And yeah, there's some people that talk smack. There ain't no doubt about it. They come there. I mean, especially in the field trial world, it's those guys are brutal. You know what I mean? They're out there to win it. It's a big deal. You only got so many of them every year, and they're all trying to get FC, AFC, NFC, or NFC, and qualified and derbies and all that kind of mess. They're trying to get them blue ribbons. But I mean, 99% of them, like every genre of sports, they're extremely competitive. There's a lot of love and there's a lot of hate. But you know, I mean, but it's all good, because trust me, no matter what, if your dog gets its ass kicked, it's awesome to watch somebody else's dog do something that, by God, that was just, you know, just freaking awesome. I mean, just, you know, these dogs are trained to levels that most people can't even comprehend until they go and actually watch one happen, especially the Master Nationals, the Grand. The Grand is coming up in April 22nd, whatever. And there's 800 and something dogs going this thing. 800 and Holy something shit. Dogs. This is five tests, 5 days of grueling tests that these dogs have got to pass. Your dog can fail if you come out of a holding ball and you got to walk 20 feet up there and to the line and sit down. If your dog beats you to the bucket, the judges will ask you to pick your dog up.
Wow.
I mean, these dogs are graded on a system that is as tough as they can get, and it's the cream of the crop. I mean, it's the best dogs in the nation. And if you get a Grand Pass dog, then by golly, you got a dog. And not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but Thief is going for his 5th Grand Pass. Yep, going for his 5th Grand Pass.
Did you just ask the dog that? Did you just turn around and ask Thief? Is this
No,
your
I
grandpa?
why? My wife,
I
was like, wow, we spent a lot of time together. Me and this dog.
but Thief,
Yeah.
Thief is going for his 5th grand pass and become getting in the Hall of Fame. So that'd be pretty kick butt if he was to get that done. If he doesn't, I still love him just as much. But it'd be awesome.
So one last thing before we get into some of the housekeeping side of this stuff. So are the Canadians any good at the gun dog stuff, or is it still exclusive an American thing?
Oh, there's some really, really top-notch Canadian trainers.
That's doubtful. I find that
no. But no, let me tell you. Let me tell you what the problem is with Canada trainers. Here's what the problem is.
The metric system.
The metric system. No. They don't get near the time we can train. I've been training since January. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's fucking Canada. There's snow on the ground.
It's an iceberg.
Still ain't been able to put their damn dogs in the water.
Right.
Good point. Eskimo, I get a fucking kayak in the river.
But no, I've trained a lot of dogs that come from Canada and talked to a lot of people up there. There's some solid folks up there that can train some mean dogs.
Same thing with police dogs. There's some badass police dog trainers up there that have some monsters that are definitely serving their communities well. I'll put it that way. So they speak in metric, and that's the same thing with the Australians.
I tell you what, don't ever kilograms, milligrams, and all those kinds of things. The only thing I can remember is in school they taught me centimeter as wide as my thumb, but I got a fat thumb now. I ain't sure about that.
A little bit bigger. We dudes know inches. We know what a real. Well, we know what inches are.
The fucking ruler's broken though. So
right, yeah, that's true. It changes in the weather. So, your website, Ted sent me to it earlier today, the retrievertrainer.com. Dude, your stuff is amazing. Like, it's very well done. It's the kind of thing some folks should be kind of striving for. You want to talk about that, where that came from and what everybody can get to? I know there's all kinds of different things, levels and stuff they can get into. And I'm probably signing up for that bitch tonight because I got a lot more to learn.
I hear you. Well, listen, the retriever trainer, I started retriever training because, like I said, I did a lot of videography and did a lot of filming for a ton of other pro trainers and stuff. The one thing I always saw was they showed a finished dog doing remedial work. In other words, they didn't show you every live feed of mine every single morning. I say the good, the bad, the ugly, because I show it all. And that's what the retriever trainer does. It shows a dog at that level doing that level work, and it shows everything that goes wrong. So I can remember my first DVD set that I bought, and I'm sitting there watching this thing, and I thought to myself, I got the dumbest dog in the world. You know what I mean?
I still think that.
But I mean, seriously, I'm watching these dogs and they do this. And I'm like, I want to beat my dog because it's dumb. And I'm like, but what it was they weren't showing everything. And I got onto the guys that I was filming stuff. Man, y'all show that. I ain't going to show that. Well, that proud thing got in there. You know what I mean? They didn't want to show all this stuff. So that's what I did. So I started with a 7-week-old puppy named Teet. 7 weeks. And then I started and I filmed every single session, every single week of her life's advancement, all the way up until she just passed this last fall, passed her first grand at a little over 3 years old.
Shit. So yeah. It's a 3-year-long video.
That's a lot of content.
That's a lot of fucking content.
And there's over 1,000 videos on this website. And it's just not Teet. There's Teet's life. There's Dingy's life. There's Ash's life. There's also, you can go in there. You can find a section that if you need to work on mom and plop concept marks, or if you want to do some flower pots, or you want to just teach concept marking, stick man, white coat, hunt holding blinds, do holding work. I mean, there's a search bar. You just type in there whatever you want to look for, and boom, it'll click on there and it'll pop up. All right, this is what I'm doing, 5 or 6 videos, or just go down to older entries, because we're always updating the website. We're continually adding anywhere from 50 to 100 videos every single year. We got another big batch fixing to be dropped on there. But the retriever trainer shows every single thing that goes wrong. So it gives the newbie and strong amateur and even the pro some different fixes that they may not have seen, or how to react to what's going on with this. Why my dog, why I'm having issue with force fetch, or what's wrong? My dog will not hold, so many people just have issues with seeing, by having it in step by step and showing it all the things that go wrong. It makes you a lot calmer about it and gives everybody, a lot more confidence, so to speak, if they can see everything. And the next thing about the retriever trainer is I'm 100% available through Facebook Messenger or email, whatever. You send a message, and I promise you within 24 hours, I'm going to answer you personally and get you directed to the right what you need to look at and whatever. And all that for $60. I mean,
I was going to say it's only $60. And, and Eric and I and Ray and all of us, like, we come across similar problems when we go across the country and this is strictly police dogs, right? And whether it's detection stuff, tracking, or with apprehension. And it's a lot of the same problems. And I think, like, the three of us live in our respective bubbles, right? Like, your hoodie's got mud all over it. I'm covered in dog shit and spit. Right. I smelled like Bill Jack. And because I've been training puppies all day. And so, when somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm having problems doing this. And I'm like, well, why? Well, initially I used to say, why? Like, why the fuck are you having a problem with that? And then I remember I'm talking to a police officer who is a cop first and a canine handler second, and they haven't done it 9,000 fucking times like Eric and I have. And I'm like, dude, just do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, oh, well, how do you do that? Or why do, and and then so there's this like catalog or Rolodex of shit that I do or don't do or whatever. And, you're right. I mean, and showing that entire process is something that's extremely valuable, because it's, the police dog side is interesting because we don't raise our own dogs by and large here. They're imported from Holland or from, Europe or wherever. And traditionally, the people that run the dog are not involved at all in the training, or very, very limitedly. So we pass off this fucking angry ass shithead of a dog to somebody that's not really like sped up all the way, and this dog just wants to fucking annihilate people. And they're like, so there's this, like, there's a very, very, very steep learning curve. Eric was telling at the beginning of the episode, he had a dude in handler school get fucking tagged today, and I'm like, well,
drinking from a fire hose, buddy.
Yeah, pay attention, bro. Like, watch out for the pointy end.
So Ted, the one thing I can say that you and I are doing wrong based off of his website is he's got the flower pot and all this other stuff he's teaching. We're teaching the Alabama Hot Pocket and Minneapolis Bullfrog. And when people look that up, they never come back.
Don't.
So Alabama Hot Pocket has nothing to do with dogs. It's
don't go to Urban Dictionary. No, don't go to Urban Dictionary. Yeah. So you can go to theretrievertrainer.com. That's where you're at. It's on the same thing on Instagram, right? That's where you're at.
Yeah, the retriever.
Okay. I just followed him.
Yeah, and on Facebook too. Like, you can Facebook is a messenger, and and I follow you on Facebook, and I do see you pop up live like all the time. Like, you're up.
Oh
live.
Yeah, no, like just me personally, Freddy King. That's where I post all my live feeds.
Yeah, and I mean, it's on like live all the fucking time. Like, it pops up on my screen, like up here at the top right. It says, Freddy King's live, and I'm like, God damn, again. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And if people listening, like, he is all lot of the time. Like, when I'm in front of the computer.
I got a lot of clients saying, man, when are you gonna run my dog? When am I gonna see my dog?
When am I gonna see my dog? Yeah, believe me, Eric and I both deal with that too. Where's my dog? Don't worry about it. Leave me alone.
I ain't seen your dog.
Yeah. Who are you? You send them a picture of a yellow one. They're like, I got a black lab. And you're like, you got the same last name. You got the same last name as somebody else. So, Eric, you are about ready to finish Ridgeside, Ohio, yeah?
Yeah, Ridgeside Canine, Ohio. There's 3 in the new building. So those of you who didn't listen or don't know before, I have everything under Van S Canine. But if you listen to me in the past, Van S Canine on Instagram is all police stuff. Van S Canine on Facebook is all pet stuff. I'm not able to optimize the advertising and everything by having it split like that. So I'm switching the pet stuff over to Ridgeside Canine, Ohio. That website should be up soon. The Facebook page has been up, and the new facility, it's 5,700 square feet of pet training stuff. And it's coming along. I'm hoping in 2 weeks that it's there. The rubber flooring is supposed to arrive Friday. We'll see. So anyways, that's where I'm at. How about you?
I'm still at Torchlight Canine on Instagram and on Facebook. That's the police side. So we have Torchlight Pets, Torchlight Canine Pets now, or Torchlight Pets on Instagram and Facebook. That's all the pet side. So with our vocational thing, with the VA and some other the pet side coming on, we're going to be doing, I haven't really done it in the past. We've been asked a ton to do it. So I'm acquiescing and we're going to do it. We're going to do pets. I've got 3 right now that I'm working, and it's kind of nice working with dogs that don't try and fucking kill me every time I get them out of the kennel for the first couple of weeks I have them, or kill other people, which is nice. So I think when I get the little ones out, I'm not routinely surprised that I don't get bit, which is great. So kind of getting back to the good old days of clickers and teaching dogs to shake and not jump on people. So it's not too bad. But yeah, Torchlight Pets, the new facility, still in Tulsa. We're open now, but build out should be done into May-ish is what it sounds like. So yeah, indoor, outdoor, we're gonna have bunkhouse, stuff like that. But yeah, moving around, rocking and rolling right along. We got HRDs coming up, HRD Police Canine on Instagram and on Facebook. For the schedule continues to change because of the vid. So the Rona has messed everything up, but that's where the next one's Johnson City, Tennessee. And then we're in another place in Tennessee right after that. So,
Memphis, I think.
Memphis. Yeah, we're going back to Memphis and see them. So that ought to be interesting. Hopefully Dono is not there. That dog's real name is Don't Nobody Want to Get Bit, because God bless, that dog bites hard. Yeah, it's super giant angry Malinois. Yeah, still the hardest biting dog we've ever worked. I'm glad
Soul stealer. Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not decoying. Nope.
So,
pass.
So Freddie, we've done 127 episodes. I got to tell you, you're probably my top 2 or 3 guests we've ever had on. You were amazing. I feel like I learned a lot, or at least I learned I need a lot of shit to learn. I need a lot to do.
Your story.
Dude, that goes vice versa there. I mean, I really enjoyed the convo. I have a ton of respect for you guys. Everybody that does anything that's in what y'all do, law enforcement, at every single level. I mean, you guys top notch, bets and all.
And I apologize to the missus there. If we knew her in her car, we probably wouldn't have dropped so many F-bombs and everything else. I was like, oh, she's there. Sorry, ma'am.
You ain't hurt her ears.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, so we'll put the links in the show notes for their website and the Instagram. But yeah, everybody hit Freddie up. Even if you're a police dog trainer, there is some info in there for directionals and for ecollar stuff that you can definitely use. So yeah, without a doubt. So Freddie, man, we appreciate it. This is one that a long time ago when we started this up, like Eric said, we're on episode 127. This was one of the short lists, and I finally made it to it at 127. So sorry it took so long.
Oh man, it's been great. Listen, y'all holler at me anytime.
Oh, we appreciate it, man. We'll see everybody soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.